You're watching Cape Media News, brought to you by Cape Media Center.
Tonight on Cape Media News, election results are in.
Plus, the importance of preserving Nantucket Sound.
And a recap of this week in sports.
These stories and more are coming up next on Cape Media News.
Good evening and welcome to Cape Media News, your source for hyperlocal news that matters. I'm Jamie Horton.
And I'm Maxie Davidson. The general election was held this week, and while the presidential race took the spotlight, there were plenty of races locally to keep track of. News Director Mitch Salk has more with a recap of this week's election and what the results were for the Mid-Cape.
We've been keeping track of multiple state House and Senate races the past couple months, and now that the dust has settled from Tuesday's election, we know who will be representing voters in the Mid-Cape area. First up, the Cape and Islands Senate District. Incumbent Senator Julian Cyr won his fifth term with 60.5% of the vote. Cyr thanked supporters across Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket, saying he's honored to continue serving the district. Republican challenger Chris Lozen garnered 37.2% of the vote, thanking his supporters and volunteers for their hard work over 2 campaigns. Independent candidate Joe Van Ness received 2.3% of the vote, noting that his campaign, despite a lack of funding, reached around 2,300 supporters, something he found encouraging. In the 1st Barnstable District, incumbent Chris Flanagan secured a victory with 56.4% of the vote. He expressed his gratitude to supporters and wished his opponent Jerry O'Connell well in his future endeavors. O'Connell, who received 43.6% of the vote, thanked everyone involved in the campaign, highlighting the excitement and support that made his run memorable. Next, in the 2nd Barnstable District, Democrat Kip Diggs won re-election with 59.2% of the vote. Diggs expressed his appreciation for the community's continued trust and is ready to tackle the challenges that lie ahead. Republican candidate Suzanne Connolly, who captured 40.8% of the vote, thanked her supporters, noting that nearly 41% of voters backed her vision for change on the Cape. In the 4th Barnstable District, Democrat Hadley Luddy will take office as the district's next representative after running unopposed. Luddy thanked her family, friends, and supporters, stating she's looking forward to serving the community. Moving to the 5th Barnstable District, Republican incumbent Steve Zaros won a clear victory with 61.5% of the vote. Zaros called it an honor of a lifetime to serve as state representative, promising to serve with integrity and never let his supporters down. His opponent, Democrat Owen Fletcher, thanked all who supported his campaign and welcomed everyone who engaged with him and his team as they reached out to voters. And finally, in the county commissioner's race, where there were 4 candidates for 2 open seats, incumbents Mark Forrest and Sheila Lyons both secured re-election. This year's election also brought several key ballot questions for voters in the Cape and Islands. Here's a quick recap of how each question turned out. First, question 1 asked voters if the state auditor should be authorized to audit the legislature. Voters overwhelmingly said yes, with 71.6% in favor. In question 2, voters weighed in on whether to remove MCAS test requirements for high school graduation. With 59% voting yes, voters chose to remove the MCAS graduation requirement. Question 3 focused on whether transportation network drivers, like those who drive for Uber and Lyft, should be allowed to unionize. This passed with 53.8% voting yes, paving the way for drivers to form unions. Question 4 proposed legalization of certain psychedelic substances. However, with 57% voting no, the measure did not pass. Psychedelics remain illegal in Massachusetts. Question 5 asked voters if the sub-minimum wage for tip workers should be increased to match the minimum wage. This proposal was rejected by a wide margin, with 64.3% voting no. And question 6 was a Barnstable County-only question that aimed to clean up and clarify language in the county charter regarding the Assembly of Delegates' legislative role. This was a close one, with 51.6% voting no. The measure did not pass, so the county charter will remain as it is. And that wraps up our coverage of the 2024 Cape and Islands election results. Thank you to all the candidates, supporters, and voters who took part in this year's democratic process.
Around 6:30 on Sunday evening, the Yarmouth Fire Department received a call from a passerby reporting a structure fire at 2 Route 6A in Yarmouthport, the site of the former Anthony's Comaquid Inn. The fire had advanced quickly, threatening other buildings on the property and the wooded area nearby. A second alarm was ordered, bringing in crews from Barnstable, Dennis, Hyannis, Harwich, and Brewster. The crews worked for several hours to bring the fire under control, with Chatham, Dennis, Hyannis, Orleans, and CALM fire departments covering Yarmouth fire stations during the incident. No civilian injuries were reported, and one fire department member was evaluated on the scene for a minor injury. The cause of the fire is yet to be determined.
Effective immediately and until further notice, open burning and outside fires in the towns of Harwich and Chatham are not permitted. This ban includes fires associated with fire pits, chimeneas, outdoor fireplaces, and cooking and heating equipment that are not specifically covered under the open burning regulation.
Fire bans in Harwich and Chatham are due to consistent dry weather conditions, including lack of rain, low humidity, and steady wind. These factors create favorable conditions for wildfire to spread. Cape residents are advised to take extra precautions to mitigate the chances of fires. Fire departments recommend using leaf blowers, lawnmowers, and other power equipment less frequently to prevent overheating. Dispose of ashes in fireplaces in a metal can, douse them with water, and cover them with a tight-fitting lid. Extinguish smoking materials in a sturdy ashtray with water or sand. Never toss cigarette butts or matches over a balcony. Stub them out on stairs or railings, or toss them into vegetation.
The Yarmouth Police Department is warning the public about another popular scam that has been making the rounds recently. This one involves receiving blackmail threats in the form of an email or a letter that states the sender has access to your personal information and will release it to the public unless you pay them in the form of Bitcoin. If you receive an email like this, do not respond to the email or pay the ransom. Call the Yarmouth Police Department at 508-775-0445.
Entertainment Cinemas at Patriot Square is teaming up with the Mount Horeb Lodge Masons to host a movie night benefiting the Hubbard family. The fundraiser will be on Sunday, November 17th at 4 p.m. Adult tickets are $14 and children's are $11. To buy tickets in advance, call 978-925-4004 or visit Mid-Cape Polishing from 12 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Cape Cod Gateway Airport and Barnstable County invite members of the public to a joint meeting on Tuesday, November 12th at 5 p.m. at Barnstable Town Hall to discuss updates on PFAS mitigation efforts. Learn more about ongoing work to protect our environment and public health.
Monomoy Regional School District will be launching a multilingual parent advisory council to better understand and integrate the many voices in the school community. The Monomoy ML PAC will provide opportunities for parents, caregivers, and other community members to share experiences and advocacy with each other and Monomoy school administrators. The first meeting of the ML PAC will be held on November 19th at 5:30 p.m. in the Monomoy Regional High School Library. To learn more or to sign up, visit monomoy.edu/MLPAC.
Join the town of Yarmouth for Veterans Day at Packet Landing Veterans Park. At 11 a.m., a special ceremony will be conducted in remembrance and gratitude for our veterans. And head over to the Dennis Field of Honor to visit the flag display free of charge. Walk through the rows of flags to honor veterans, first responders, and hometown heroes.
Coming up after the break, Save Our Sound. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Cape Media News.
Earlier this week, we were visited by Audra Parker, President and CEO of the Alliance to Protect Nantucket Sound. She sat down with News Director Mitch Sock to talk about the importance of protecting this historic body of water. Here is a sneak peek.
So Nantucket Sound is the body of water between Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket. And what's really unique about it is that it's a split jurisdiction. So if you go out from the shores of the Cape and Islands 3 miles, that's state water. The center of Nantucket Sound is federal water. So even though it's one ecosystem, it's split between jurisdiction. And the state waters are part of a Massachusetts Ocean Sanctuary System and are protected under a state law called the Massachusetts Ocean Sanctuaries Act. But the federal waters in the center are vulnerable to development. So it's very important that we recognize that it's one single ecosystem and that we protect it as a whole.
And what are some of the preservation measures that have been used in the past, and what can be, what's best some of the best ways to protect the sound going forward?
So there's a lot of different mechanisms for protecting bodies of water or areas of land, national monument, a national marine sanctuary, but what we're trying to pursue is a national historic landmark designation. So that's basically a recognition of Nantucket Sound as a sacred tribal site. It was once dry land thousands of years ago where the Wampanoag people lived, buried their ancestors, and so it's a very important sacred site recognized by the local tribes as well as regional and national areas. So we decided to protect it as a national historic landmark because of its significance as a tribal site or as a sacred site. Also, back in 2010, the federal government under the U.S. Department of the Interior determined that Nantucket Sound was what's called a traditional cultural place because of its significance to the Wampanoag people, and that made it eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. So we're leveraging that designation, which is a lower level of recognition, and National Historic Landmark is the highest level of historic recognition and protection possible.
And for people that would want to get involved with either some of those groups that are working with you guys or just otherwise, how can the public get involved if they want to help?
So probably the easiest way is to go to our website, which is saveoursound.org. So we're the Alliance to Protect Nantucket Sound, but also called Save Our Sound. And right now, one way people could really help is we are pursuing the National Historic Landmark designation two ways. One administratively, which is through the National Park Service, but the other way is legislatively with a federal bill through Congress. So we're trying to encourage our supporters to go to our website, specifically saveoursound.org/petition, and sign on to a petition that's urging our federal delegation to go ahead and introduce what we're calling the Nantucket Sound National Historic Landmark Act. So there could be a bill, or will be a bill, hopefully, at one of these days, that will designate Nantucket Sound as a National Historic Landmark. And there's potentially an opportunity this year. So I'm very encouraging of people to go to our website and sign that petition. The other way people can participate is they can donate. We're a nonprofit environmental organization, so we're totally funded by people that care about the Cape and Islands and specifically Nantucket Sound. And then I'm always happy to go talk to anyone that wants to listen to me. And so if you're part of a Rotary group or any kind of group that has speakers, we're happy to do that as well.
Be sure to catch the full interview on Facebook next week.
Oyster season has begun. The recreational harvest limit for oysters is 1/2 peck per calendar week. No more than one combined peck of oysters per week may be harvested on any recreational shellfish permit. To learn more about shellfishing limits and locations, or to apply for a permit, visit your town's website.
Do you have a kayak you need stored for the winter? Storage spots at Grays Beach, Englewood Beach, and Dennis Pond will become available on November 18th. To claim a spot, fill out an application in person at the Natural Resources Office. The doors will open at 8 a.m. and you must come ready with a check. $150 for one kayak and $225 for two.
The Barnstable County Human Rights Advisory Commission hosted its annual Fall Human Rights Academy last week at Sturgis Charter High School. This year's theme, Student Well-Being Supporting a Healthy School, gathered approximately 90 students from 10 schools across Barnstable County. This event fostered a space for dialogue, visioning, and action on critical issues related to student mental health and well-being.
Hyannis Public Library and 4-H are hosting a one-day babysitting course. On Saturday, November 16th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., learn everything you need to know about being a responsible babysitter, including child safety, first aid and emergency preparedness, feeding and nutrition, stages of child development, and the business of babysitting. Participants must be registered beforehand and can sign up at hyannislibrary.org.
Are you looking to get out in nature more before it gets too cold? Join the Town of Harwich Conservation Department for a plant identification and seed collection lesson on November 15th. This free walk will be at Thompson's Field, meeting at the parking lot off Route 39 at 10 a.m. To register, email lillian.gooding@harwich-ma.gov.
Harwich Elementary School is bringing back their family nature walks. Join the Harwich PTO on Saturday, November 16th at the Pleasant Bay Woodlands to spend some time outdoors with other Harwich families. This is a great opportunity to stay active, enjoy nature, and meet new friends. For more information, contact Mr. Emilium at john.emilium.111@gmail.com.
The holiday season has begun. The Harwich Cape Tex Holiday Fair is happening this weekend on the 9th and 10th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. With over 100 crafters, you'll be sure to find something for everyone on your list. Start your holiday shopping early while benefiting the Cape Cod Tex Skills USA.
Lastly this evening, we send it to Ryan Downs with a recap of this week in sports.
Welcome back to the Cape Media News Sports segment. I'm your host and local sports guy, Ryan Downs. We went to 4 games this week, so let's get right into those recaps. The 27th ranked DY boys soccer team secured a spot in the round of 32 with a 3-1 victory over number 38 Auburn this past Monday, with Sam Pereira scoring all 3 goals for the Dolphins. Auburn was the first to score off a penalty, but DY wasn't too far behind with the equalizer, coming from an inbounds play. The rest of the first half was a grudge match, with both teams testing each other's defense. DY had great performances by Robbie McPhee, both on offense and defense, and goalkeeper John Richard had numerous saves throughout the match to keep the lead. Not to mention, the Dolphins pulled out this win without their senior captain Billy Donahue, who just also happens to be the Cape and Islands Maritime Division League MVP and All-League honoree. Pereira's second goal was a sweet jumping heel kick that came assisted from number 12, Adam Davenport. Wow, what a powerful heel kick. And less than a minute later, Pereira sealed the deal and was celebrating a 3rd time. With the win, DY secured a game against number 6 North Reading. That game took place on Wednesday, with DY's season coming to a close following the 5-0 finish. DY's field hockey team was ranked 6th in Division III, and they topped Notre Dame 2-0 in the round of 32. In the round of 16, they drew 11th ranked East Longmeadow. Leah Woodward's early goal set the tone, giving DY a 1-0 lead by the end of the first quarter. The game went back and forth, with East Longmeadow tying it at halftime and taking a 2-1 lead by the end of the 3rd quarter. Both of East Longmeadow's goals were scored by number 22. DY rallied, tying the game 2-2 with 12 minutes left in regulation, pushing the match into a 10-minute 6-on-6 overtime period, and eventually a second 10-minute period. With the score still even after extended play, the contest went to a shootout. In the shootout, the person on offense has 10 seconds to get the ball into the net, regardless of how many shots attempted. The goalie's best bet is to try and knock the ball out of bounds to avoid any rebound opportunities. East Longmeadow went first in the shootout and was denied 3 of their 4 shots, while DY went 3 for 3 to claim victory. DY moves on to the round of 8, where they will travel to the number 3 seed Newburyport tomorrow for a 12 p.m. start. On Tuesday, the 2nd-seeded Monomoy field hockey team hosted the 15th-seeded Northbridge in a Division IV round of 16 matchup. The Sharks controlled possession of the ball for the majority of the first half, keeping it in Northbridge's territory. They were also able to cash in on some first-half corner opportunities to give them a 2-0 lead heading into half. The first goal was scored by senior captain Emily Layton, and the latter came off a rebound put back by 8th grader Mia Zimmerman. The Sharks closed out the game, maintaining their dominance, with a final score of 5-0. Their round of 8 game started at 4 p.m. today, as they host the 7th-seeded Cohasset team. Barnstable hosted Wachusett in the round of 16 this past Wednesday. The Redhawks cruised to victory, winning in 3 straight sets, with great performances by Molly Gleason, who led the team with 14 kills, Jaslyn Coyer with 16 digs and 21 serves received, and our match MVP pick, Tegan Garrity, who had 29 serves resulting in 23 points, 10 digs, and 23 assists. The first set went back and forth, point for point, with long rallies until it reached 15-14 Wachusett, at which point Garrity ripped off 9 straight serves, giving Barnstable a huge 23-16 lead, and forcing Wachusett to use 2 timeouts by the time her service was over. Coyer played great defense to keep the service streak alive, with multiple digs throughout as well. Barnstable won the set with a final score of 25-16. The second set, we got to see Barnstable's young talent shine, with big contributions from sophomores Bella Magalhaes and Molly Colantuano, to jump out to an early lead. Wachusett battled back to cut down at one point Barnstable's 7-point lead, but it was too little too late, and Barnstable claimed the second set 25-20. The third set, we saw Garrity rip off another 5 straight serves to give Barnstable all the momentum and a lead they would not give up so easily this time. They seemed to be playing their best volleyball at this point, with excellent communication and situational awareness on the court. They went on to claim the third set with a final score of 25-12. Barnstable's next game will be tomorrow at 1 p.m. at Brookline High School, where they will face the number 2 seed Brookline in the round of 8. And that's it for this week's sports update. Back to you, Jamie and Maxie.
Thanks, Ryan. If you're on a self-improvement journey, join South Yarmouth Library tomorrow at 2 for a discussion on the 4 pillars of health.
Health experts Susan Baumgarten and Allison Dwyer will lead the conversation on food, sleep, physical activity, and emotional well-being.
And thank you for joining us this evening. If you have a story you'd like to see covered, send us an email at newstip@capemedia.org.
Tune in every week for more hyperlocal news that matters on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV.
Be sure to follow us on all of our social media, including Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. For Cape Media News, I'm Jamie Horton.
And I'm Maxie Davidson.